Hi, and welcome to Read Becca. Let's talk about one of my favorite new series, the Teixcalaan Empire Duology, starting with A Memory Called Empire. A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine starts with Mahit Zamare, an ambassador who is leaving Lascelles Station and heading toward the Teixcalaan Empire. Now, she's kind of a fangirl for the culture of the Teixcalaan Empire, but has never actually experienced it. They have a very strong poetic tradition, and she has really studied that, but has never truly experienced the nuance of their culture. So with Mahit traveling there, she has an implant in her head called an imago. And in her culture, this is very specific to Lascelles Station, they have imago lines where her imago implant includes the memory and a personality of the previous ambassador, Iskander. Now, she will only have Iskander's memory and personality in her head, but he will have the previous ambassador prior to him in his mind during his experiences, and so on. So they have these lengthy, extended, unbroken imago lines that are very foundational to the culture of Lascelles Station. So as well, they are an independent station. They are not part of the empire, which is very unique because the Teixcalaan Empire has been essentially colonizing the entire universe. So they consider the people of the station to be barbarians, effectively. They're uncivilized, they're primitive, because they effectively aren't part of the higher advanced civilization. So at this point, Mahit does not know exactly why she is headed for the Empire, other than she's been urgently summoned there. It's a several-month journey, and she is on her way there very anxious. When she actually arrives, they let her know that, in fact, Iskander, her predecessor, was murdered. And they show her into the corpse that they have been preserving for her arrival. As soon as she sees the corpse, her imago goes on the fritz. And so she loses this predecessor's memory and personality and behaviors that were informed about the culture that she is now immersed in, and she has no guide. So she is rendered completely reliant upon the person assigned to her to kind of show her around, which is 3 Seagrass. And that is the naming convention found in the Teixcalaan Empire. It's very much a name and a noun. So this puts her in a very uncomfortable position, but she finds she very quickly trusts 3 Seagrass, and they form a certain relationship. So Mahit is then on this wild ride of a murder mystery, trying to figure out what has gone wrong with her imago, and as well as at the same time figuring out what's going on in this culture and the politics of the culture, where she kind of plays up the fact that they think she's a barbarian in order to appear more naive than she in fact is. So I think this is a fabulous book for readers of things like the Hainish cycle, where you're looking at a more slow and philosophical read. It's not really action-packed. There's some political drama, quite a lot of political drama, but it's not big epic battles, not heavy on spacefaring or adventure. It's very much about anthropology and culture. So I know a lot of people argued against this being space opera, but in my opinion, the opera part is the key here. The opera implies interplanetary conflict, and that is very much at the forefront of this book. So that's most of book 1. As far as I understand, this is a completed duology, but the author has left it open to potential future books not included in this duology. So the second book, A Desolation Called Peace, just came out recently, and I absolutely had to pick it up right away after my reading of A Memory Called Empire, and so I did. So A Desolation Called Peace is also its own self-contained story. So both of these have plots that can be read mostly on their own. However, what's contrary to most books here is that I can't really spoil too much of the plot because the books are not continuous, really. But if I were to talk about what's going on politically or what's going on interpersonally, that would really spoil things, because that's where the through line is between these two. So in this book, A Desolation Called Peace, we expand out. We have many perspectives beyond Mahit Zamare. So we get a number of military commanders, and in fact, most of this takes place in space on a military ship. And then we also get the perspective of 8 Antidote, who is intended to be the heir, respectively. And he is actually a young boy who is feeling a lot of pressure about that role as the heir of the emperor. I feel like the expansion out of all of these additional characters just verified what I knew from the first book, where the character work is so phenomenal. So what's it about? The second book, contrary to the first being primarily a murder mystery, is a first contact story. So we have a completely new type of alien that the Empire is now in touch with. The viewpoint of the Empire is very much with that colonizer focus. They think the only value that a potential alien race could have is, they literally say, a virus. It's either to be dominated or eradicated, really. And so what is so brilliant about this book and the setup from the first book is that Mahit Zamare is a linguist. So not only is she this barbarian outside who is the only one who feels any value for these alien species, she also is uniquely qualified to try and speak with them. So this whole book is really the long, slow, arduous process of what first contact entails. If you enjoyed Arrival and the linguistic elements and the very labor-intensive process that is going through, this book will be for you. It's very slow and very focused. So I think that is really the selling point here, is if you want to get into the nitty-gritty of a first contact scenario with something that is truly very alien, you should pick up this book, absolutely. One of the best points on this book, aside from the individual characters, is the relationship between 3 Seagrass and Mahit continuing. One point that I just loved, where the two of them are preparing to listen to some of the language or potential language from these aliens, and the sounds that they make people violently ill. And so the two of them are preparing bin liners together to sit down with us, and it's just like the cutest, sweetest moment because they're about to curl up and start vomiting for hours together. It doesn't sound cute, but in context, it's adorable. So other than that, I think there are so many things that Martine does well by undercutting things that the average author would do. I felt so many different subversions. One moment, they had just uncovered something incredibly important, and I was so sure that a character was going to secretly utilize that thing, and it would be this massive twist and reveal. But on the very next page, the character immediately announced it to everyone and did the thing immediately. So just completely undercut it, but it was so much more effective in doing that, because it wasn't what I was prepared for. It wasn't the, authorial technique that we're set up to expect. And I just enjoyed that so much because it was not trying to trick the reader. So I think that both of these are absolutely stunning outings from a new author, with the first book being a complete debut from this author, this being effectively standalone plots for each book, and now a completed duology. It is stunning. I hold this up as now one of my favorite of all time sci-fi series, and I will be completely looking forward to anything this author comes out with in the future. Needless to say, that means absolute 5 stars for both of these. Thank you so much for watching today. Please like and subscribe.